Hi everyone, welcome to the video, welcome to the channel. If you're new, I'm Heather. Today it is pantry restock day, so I've got quite a few things that have sort of run out in the last few days, honestly maybe even the last week. I thought I would just make do everything all in one day so that I can show you and bring you along for what it is that I do. So I am all mic'd up and ready so that you can hear me properly while I'm doing all this, because it's also a really windy day and this lovely old property it lets the wind in and the noise as well. So anyway, so on the list today is I need to do a loaf of bread, I need to do an absolute shit ton of butter because I am doing a really big load of baking next week, so I kind of just want to prep as much as I can in preparation for that, which that'll be another baking vlog next week. Stay tuned, it's good, it will be good. So yeah, bread, butter, granola. I need to do another batch of granola. I do need to do Greek yogurt, but I think I might actually do that later in the week. I will still include it if I do it, but it might just be another day that I do that. I need to make flatbreads to go with my lunches this week. So anyway, that is the list and I'm going to get straight on with it. So this is my sourdough starter for anyone that doesn't know. She's called Matilda. She's kind of been left to hibernate for a little while, as you can probably tell by all of the dry sourdough starter that's just come off, and also by all of this lovely liquid at the top, which is basically, it's called hooch. It's essentially, that is like your sourdough starter telling you, I'm bloody starving, please feed me. I need to do a lot of baking with it next week. I'm going to revive this now, and because I need it to be really good for next week. So I'm going to give her a fresh container as well. I think at this point she deserves it. So you can pour off the hooch or you can mix it in. I honestly, sometimes I mix it in, sometimes I don't. It kind of just depends how I feel on the day, to be honest. So I am probably going to do at least a 1 to 2 to 2 ratio, just to get her nice back and revived and strong and healthy. Honestly, I just eyeball it, in complete honesty. I don't really worry about the measurements of it or anything. And also I do tend to use a little less water than I do flour. I sort of just put a little bit in, give it a mix, see how much extra is kind of needed. That is now really thick to the point where there's a lot of flour in there that's not mixed in, so we'll add a little bit more water in there. But that's definitely a lot less water than flour that got added in there. And then I just make sure that it's all thoroughly mixed, not got any flour, dry flour that's not mixed in. It is this sort of really, God, I can't even get it out, this really thick paste basically. And now that is all fed and ready. And then what I do, I've just had it in here for, honestly, in these jars for so long. These are actually canning lids. I just honestly, half the time I don't even put the proper lid on it, and I don't properly screw that on. So that is now all done, all fed and ready for next week's bake off, which I'm really excited for. I basically, the elastic bands, I just have the bottom one is where it's currently at, and then the top one, I just move that depending on how much it grows essentially. And then I will just sort of keep an eye on it and move that band around as needed. It might need, I reckon, definitely 1 more feed, maybe even 2 before I use it, just because it's just been hibernating for a little while. Yeah, I'm gonna let it do its thing for the week, and then I will see you for the bake off bake along. So I'm starting off with the wholemeal bread loaf. I've got I bought a pair of wired headphones. Why? Because my mic interferes with my Bluetooth headphones and stuff, and it tries to, yeah, it's confusing and annoying. But I bought wired headphones and it feels really nostalgic to be using these. I don't know why. I literally have music playing all of the time. So then it's really weird when I'm doing stuff and filming and I don't have music on. It feels really, really strange. So then almost like having these means that I get to still have my music, but then still record and still like speak, and the music not be picked up. But anyway, it feels super nostalgic and I'm loving it. But anyway, so I'm starting with the wholemeal bread loaf. So I've actually slightly changed the recipe that I'm using, and the original used just all wholemeal, but I actually end up using like a bit of a combination of wholemeal and white flour, purely just because I find that it makes the dough a bit more like airy, a bit less dense. As whenever I've made a loaf that is like only wholemeal flour, it just never really fully works. I'd rather use a mix of the two and know that it's going to be good. Nearly dropped that. That would not be good. This is also like one of the only recipes that I've used where they don't add the yeast in like into water separately first. They just kind of add all of the dry ingredients together. So I kind of just find it easier, to be honest. And it works, so why not? So I might try adding in seeds into this time, but I think I'm gonna add them in. I don't know if you can add seeds in like when you're mixing the dough, or if you should do it like after it's risen. I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna check the recipe and figure out when I should put them in. Okay, so with this recipe, it's saying to knead it, and then pretty much straight after you like just show. Oh my god, there's a lot of water there. So it's saying to shape, well no, let me get my words. So it's saying to knead the dough, and then after that you leave it to rise, and then after that you just shape it. You don't really like do anything with it again. So I might add in the seeds before it rises, but like after I've kneaded it, I'll add it in towards the end of when I'm kneading, maybe. Honestly, I think I would say when it comes to doing bread, this thing is my secret weapon. And it's not even like it's a, you know, fancy gadget or anything like that. It's purely just, oh, it's so good. So this is another thing that I find really helpful when I do this with music, because it says to knead it for like 10 minutes or something. I literally have like zero concept of time. So I then almost know, I'm like, right, okay, that's roughly about 3 songs. Maybe like 2.5 if they're long songs. But I kind of go, okay, 2-3 songs, you know, that should do it. And then I just knead for that long. And know that I've probably needed it for long enough, because otherwise I genuinely have zero concept of time. It's so bad. But anyway, I'm gonna get on and knead this. That will now go in a warm spot for probably like an hour, maybe, just kind of until it's like doubled in size. So I'm now onto making the flatbread dough. I'll put all of the recipes that I've followed in the description. So this is actually like a brand new recipe for me. I'm kind of in that stage at the minute where I've started making certain things from scratch all the time, but I'm like trying out different recipes to try and find one that like I like the best and that works for me. So equally as well, I like having multiple that I can sort of fall back on. So like if they use slightly different ingredients, like if I don't have one of the ingredients one time, I know that there's a recipe that I like that I can do instead. But one thing I definitely really want to do is actually like write out all of my, not all of my recipes, but like all of the recipes that I'm kind of like loving, and actually like write them out and have them like physically. I'm trying to like get back into more sort of physical media, and even like with hobbies and stuff. Like I bought a crossword puzzle book the other day because I mean, partly I felt like I've just been super stupid since school and I need to train my brain again. Equally, just getting back into like more physical hobbies rather than scrolling, like even having music on like CDs and stuff and like DVDs instead of everything being like rented and like you don't actually own anything anymore. And as much as, yeah, like all of these recipes, none of them actually came from a cookbook. I'm like slowly building up my collection of cookbooks, and eventually, you know, I hope to add my own little homemade one to the list of just like, not even my recipes, but like just recipes that I know and love and that I know work for me, and equally like different variations of different recipes with like different ingredients. Like I really want that. You know, surely I can't be the only one that dreams of having like a really cute little cookbook that you can sort of pass down. I don't know what appeals to me so much about it. It's just, maybe it's like nostalgic, I don't know. So thankfully this recipe doesn't call for quite as much kneading as the other one. This one, it only says to knead it for like a couple of minutes, just until it's sort of like smooth and combined, which I would say this is now getting to that point. And then just going to leave it to rise for about half an hour. This one probably won't rise as much as the other one. Like the bread, I will leave to rise for a bit longer than this one. But that's just the nature of it. These don't really need to rise as much. Equally, there's no yeast in this, so maybe that's why. I think the next one is granola, I believe. So let's get started on that. So again with this, I think the original recipe calls for maple syrup. I have honey, so I'm using honey and going with it. I really want to get like different spicings because it really annoys me having to take that off. So I also know that most of the time, whenever a recipe calls for a certain amount of cinnamon, I'm adding more. Especially when it's granola. I don't think you can add too much cinnamon to granola, but that's just me personally. Again, vanilla measured with the heart. Now, again, the original recipe actually calls for oats and peanuts, but that's not going to fit now. Let's use this one. Yeah, it calls for oats and peanuts, but I am just going to go with oats and then a mix of different nuts, basically. So essentially with making butter, I have done a whole video on this before and I've made butter in different videos as well, but essentially it's double cream and then shake it, whip it, cut, do whatever with it basically until you get butter and buttermilk. So I tend to keep this as unsalted butter purely because I do a lot of baking. I don't bother with any shaping or anything like that. I just sort of like roughly kind of mold it into a bit of a square or rectangle or whatever. Kind of depends on how much. This is not going to go into a rectangle probably because there's so much of it. I actually might need a bigger piece of parchment paper for this. I don't think I was expecting it to be quite this big. Maybe I should wrap it in 2 separate pieces, to be honest. I'm kind of just thinking, there we go, that'll work. There we go, loads of butter. And then that will now be used for any of the baking that I do, which will be next week, which will be for the bake-off, bake-along that I'm doing with work. That's gonna go in the fridge. I'm just gonna bake the granola. The bread might even be risen by now. I need to sort out the flatbreads because they've probably been resting for way too long. So let's get on with that. Right. I would say the bread dough is definitely ready. Right, I'm not going to put too many seeds on the top purely because most of the time they don't stay on anyway. So I'm now just going to let that, I'm supposed to let it proof again for like another 45 minutes. So now onto the pita breads, no, flatbreads, basically the same thing. Right, there we go. Flatbreads are sorted and I have flour all over the place. I actually bought a new pan to do this because the last time I did this, it was smoking like crazy. So I basically went out and bought a new pan that was like clean essentially. So hopefully should be okay, but we'll see. Might have to put the extractor fan on, but I normally try and avoid it because I find it really overstimulating. Okay, I'm gonna go in with the first one. Fingers crossed. Should it be doing something? We're getting some puff. Okay, she's going, she's puffing. So you're supposed to sort of keep them like wrapped in a tea towel, as that helps with like the steam and whatnot. Helps like keep them soft. There she goes, puffing, puffing, puffing. While I'm burning things on here. Okay, I'm hoping you can hear me while the extractor fan's on, but I'm going to cook these up because I'm getting really overstimulated because there's now a lot of smoke, so that's fun. But yeah, if I don't film the rest of these, that's why, because I'm getting very overstimulated. Right, I have paused flatbread cooking for now. I've got those 2, but they look good, so that's a positive. But I'm now going to get the granola in, and then hopefully soon as well the bread. So right now, I do not have time to cook the others up because I now need to sort out the pan and make sure it doesn't keep burning. But you can actually store the dough. So the dough keeps, I think the recipe says for like 3 days in the fridge. But it said recommended to put like baking paper or cling film or something, basically like between the layers. So what I'm doing, because for the next 2 days I'm in the office, which is quite good, I then have 2 of the flatbreads ready because this is for my lunch, but I could just take out like 1 flatbread at a time and cook just 1 at a time for the remainder of the days, because I'm then working from home. So I can then have them like made fresh, which, I mean, come on, who doesn't want that? But what you can do, so you can cook them all up in one go and then you can freeze them, or you can do it like this. So you can do like, you know, however many you need at a time, and then the dough can go in the fridge, the remainder of it. So that's why I'm wrapping them up individually, just so that I can then just take 1 out and cook just 1. So that is everything for now, and then I'm going to do the Greek yogurt later in the week, but for now this is all I can fit into the evening, and then yeah, I'll do the other bits later in the week. It's the joys of doing all of this around a full-time job. At least I have everything I need for like tomorrow, Wednesday, and then I can do anything else like Thursday evening after work, basically. So that's all sorted. And then yeah, let's cut to future Heather doing the Greek yogurt. When I've done this before, I've actually used whole milk, but I wanted to try it using semi-skimmed just to see if it would work just as well. I'm just going to do the whole thing. Ooh, spill it everywhere in the process, apparently. So I'm basically just going to heat the milk, get it to, I can't remember off the top of my head the temperature that you get it to, but you get it to a certain temperature and then you cool it back down, and then you add in like a little bit of Greek yogurt from the last batch, basically. So I've just checked and I'm going to heat it to about 85 degrees and then cool it back down to about 40. So there is, you know, obviously like a few degrees leeway either way on those. Obviously it's not going to be anywhere near 85 just yet, so we're sitting at around the 40 degree mark, but you just want to like keep stirring it basically so that you don't get like a skin formed on the top or anything like, you know, happening on the bottom either. But it really is very simple, like genuinely. Greek yogurt is, I've honestly made this once and I'm not actually following a recipe this time. It's one of those where I feel like once you know the basics of it, you can't really go wrong. So essentially all I do is I just put cold water in my sink with the plug in, and then I just put the saucepan straight in the sink. So I've just got a couple of inches of cold water in the sink, and then I'm just going to put the saucepan straight in there, and then that will eventually cool down. I'm just going to move the tap so I don't get any water drop into the saucepan. So it's only been about 5 minutes and we are now sitting just above 40 degrees. And now, purely because I don't actually have a lot of yogurt left from the last batch, I'm going to just mix it up literally in the pot that I had the yogurt in. So just going to get a bit of the cooled milk, and I'm just going to scrape around as much of the Greek yogurt that is in the pot. And you know, yeah, fair enough, it's not as nice and aesthetic as a nice mixing bowl, but it means that I use as much of the Greek yogurt that was in here as possible. So I'm then just gonna, you can wrap it in a blanket, in a towel, honestly, whatever works for you. You just want to wrap it in something so that it's warm. Obviously this is now kind of wobbly, so I'm just going to put this in a spot where it's not going to topple over or anything like that. And then I'm currently doing this in the evening, hence the terrible lighting. Also hence why I haven't actually been on camera, because the overhead light is shining profusely on my forehead. And yeah, so I'm gonna leave this overnight, and then in the morning I'll drain it out and then leave it with the whey straining out during the day tomorrow, so that then it's all ready to use probably by the end of tomorrow, I'd imagine, but then ready for my breakfast on Wednesday morning. So I've basically just tried having this in the oven with the light on just for the past like few hours. Nothing seems to be happening. Oh God. I don't know why it's really done this. I don't know if it's because I didn't have enough Greek yogurt to add in the first place. Maybe that was it. Maybe you do actually need to have a certain amount. I'm gonna need to start again on this, which means because of when this video needs to go out, it's probably not gonna be included in this video. I'll do a video at some point where I'm actually making Greek yogurt and it's successful. But this just goes to show not everything goes right, even for people that, you know, do bake and cook quite a bit from scratch. I wouldn't let things like this put you off from doing things from scratch. And realistically, the ingredients that are involved in this is literally milk. So it's not like it's like I've wasted, you know, 20 quid's worth of ingredients. Do you know what I mean? It's like a pound or so. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. It's annoying. Yeah, it's annoying, but it's okay. That's what I'm telling myself anyway. I do still want to try it though with semi-skimmed milk. I do think it's probably because A, it wasn't warm enough, and B, I didn't have enough Greek yogurt when I like added it in. Basically, I honestly had the tiniest little bit. So I think follow a recipe for like the amount of Greek yogurt. Like I would have a good like quarter, third cup or something like that. But I don't really know what to do with this now. So I was completely frazzled after all this and completely forgot to film an outro. So apologies for that. But I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know if you enjoyed this type of video. I think I'm still figuring things out with, you know, like what content is going to be on this channel. But we're getting there, you know. So stick around and let me know if you enjoy any of the videos in particular. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please do subscribe if you're new and stick around. I would love for you to join this little channel. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time for the Great British Bake Off Bake Along vlog. Bye.